So this video went through some hurdles and changes over time. First, my computer poops out. Then I started taking notes on my phone. Then my phone exploded. Then I got a replacement phone and had to play all the way back up to Jurassic and modern day levels since those levels were released while my phone was broken. Then my replacement phone just decided to stop working, so I had to get a replacement for the replacement. And at this point, I'm not gonna lie, I lost hope of ever doing this video. Kinda felt like the world was against it. But then PvZ Heroes came out. My last timeline was kinda sloppy, I'll admit, and I didn't make it clear enough where things went and how timelines split off and all that nonsense. So that's why this time, I actually went in Photoshop and created a timeline myself. It's kinda blurred out at the moment because, you know, I don't want to leak any information about the videos. Yes, I did say videos. Because this is gonna be a two-parter. Wow, I really am starting to sound like MatPat, aren't I? Insert explanation about retention time and blah blah, but no, really. I think I actually need this extra time to tweak and add to my previous theory and update it with new information, both from the games and pointed out by the lovely commenters of the last video. All this time I was looking at the comments, and boy, you guys left some comments. There's usually one per day on the theories, so that means people are interested. So, without further rambling, let's start this. Okay, first things first, changes and clarifications. Note, I made a separate timeline for the original, the comics, and Heroes. I believe they're all separate timelines. They all share similar events and characters, but there are changes, some more drastic than others. I will provide proof later, but I wanted this known from the beginning because I've had plenty of people citing the comics/books in the last one and I didn't consider them at all. But I also didn't make it clear that I wasn't considering them last time. Also, I do not count the Chinese version of the game, nor will I count the Facebook game starting now. Main game, comic, and hero continuity only. And finally, I would have loved this video, but too much puns. Ah, shucks. This time I won't make any corny puns. I'll make amazing puns. Okay, with that out of the way, let's get to the theory. Okay, this timeline will show the order of events. Sort of. Time is crazy, as Dave says. In this theory, we will follow Dave, our Dave. I believe these worlds that we see differ, but there is one constant, our Dave. At least in the games. You'll notice I won't touch much on the comics, but I will mention them a bit in the timeline later. We start at PvZ 1, and this until PvZ 2 is pretty much the same to my original theory, but with differences. But to address something that I forgot to point out in the original, I have always thought of the whole planting as you go thing as purely a gameplay choice. I always thought canonically it worked more like the Last Stand missions where everything is planted ahead of time, so Dave being kidnapped wouldn't matter as far as protecting the house would go because story-wise the defenses would be up already. Zomboss could have just wanted something from inside the house and not wanted to kill Dave since he was already out of his way. After Dave was freed, somehow, he remembers an event in his past, the 80s to be exact, roughly, and steals some Zomboss tech and creates Penny to travel to another world in another time. But something is off. Papers detailing a zombie outbreak. But there are no people in sight. The humans were replaced with zombies long ago. They have been in relative peace for some time now. This is the world of garden warfare. Not too long after his arrival, war breaks out and the cycle begins anew. Zomboss creates his greatest invention, the Z-Mech. And one of the butts of these mechs goes missing for some reason. It's probably not important. Anyways, With the creation of the Z-Mech, Dave ultimately fails and Zomboss takes the world in the name of the zombies. Distraught, Dave seeks another timeline. One where he can find something that could turn the tides in the backyard battleground, all while leading Leaf, the rebellion fighting against Zomboss's regime. He finds a new timeline, one where an accident occurs, causing superpowered plants and zombies. Enter the age of PvZ Heroes, an alternate timeline whose origins are still yet unknown, where plants and zombies live together in a segregated society. We open on the invention of a new Zombot, the Zombot Herotron 5000, and the creation of this world's superbrains. Whereas in the Garden Warfare timeline, he was created after Zomboss took over in a lab specifically for the Battle of Zomburbia. Also, they make it very clear that there's only one of most characters canonically, saying things like he or she when they refer to a character, not they, as in speaking about a collective type of character. And before you say all plants a certain gender, we've seen female pea shooters and chompers, just to name a couple off the top of my head. The Zombot explodes, releasing a pulse that infuses rare plants and zombies with superpowers, a la Flash with Star Labs' explosion. Dave sees a possible way to take back his suburbia from the grip of Zomboss. Though this world already has its first Z-Mech, the newly endowed plants can hold their own against it. Though Dave is not the most reliable source of information, we also get a slip-up from him that hints that he's not of this world. He recalls creating a time machine from the junk in the junkyard, but not sure if he's already completed it in this timeline. I think Dave can be stranded in the Heroes timeline, but the Dave from this universe either didn't have the time machine yet, or the catalyst required to cut open the fabric of space-time. You see Solar Flare, Spadao, and Green Shadow scavenging for parts in the junkyard. Here you see that clearly Penny doesn't even have her tires yet. This Dave may not even be the same zombie fighting Dave that we all know and love. This world's Dave could have been an accountant for all we know, that was turned into a zombie back in the day. Never doing all these crazy battles with Zomboss that our Dave has. We may have been dropped at the pivotal moment where Zomboss was going to take over this world completely, and Dave shows up right on time to hinder his plans. Dave is stuck without the catalyst he uses to rip open the portal and travel back to the backyard battleground. This is why we don't see him very often in Garden Warfare 2. In fact, you don't see him at all. But right now, let it be known that the timeline isn't going to be as chronologically sound, since I'm going to be going more into the PvZ 2 stuff. Not only does it add the aspect of time travel, but the timeline not going straight any longer, as said by Zomboss in the final battle. But anyways, I'm getting ahead of myself. For now, back to a blast.